First though, well, here's a statistic that might shock you, I'm sure it will. According to Home Office research, 1 in 6 men will be victims of domestic abuse at the hands of their partner, a subject that's investigated in ITV1's Tonight programme this evening. With me now, Florence Terry, who admits that for years she used to regularly attack her own husband behind closed doors. It's great that you're here talking about this, do you know that? Because it's one of these things that it's kind of shoved away in the background and nobody airs it and nobody talks about it. I think there's, just like there's still unfortunately a sense of shame for women getting battered, it's the same for men, maybe more so, do you think?
Certainly my husband was very ashamed. He was ashamed for me, thinking, what would people think of me if they knew how I was? And he was ashamed himself, thinking that it was reflected badly on him as a husband. He thought that if he was a good husband, then his wife would be happy and wouldn't be getting so cross.
Do you think, were you taking out your anger on the world on him, or was it him specifically you were annoyed with? Or how did it manifest itself?
Okay, so 4 years ago I went on anger management, and I can now answer the question differently than I did then. So at the time, part of me thought that it was about him, that he was so annoying. And when I went to the anger management course, it was very clear to me that actually it wasn't about him. It was the straw that set me off and triggered me, but actually it was because I was too stressed, I was too tired, I was beating myself up with negative self-talk and stuff. Yeah,
and he was the one closest to you, I guess.
Yeah.
How was it though? I mean, did you just kind of thump him? I mean, because, you know, is he a big man? And he would never, obviously, never hit you back. You know,
he didn't.
He would just take it.
Yes, he's a gentle giant, and it would be just suddenly when I'd lose my temper, and then I'd be flailing, and then I'd be back to normal.
It must have been very difficult afterwards, because what do you do? Were you able to talk about it to him? Were you able to sort of say, I'm so sorry, I don't know what got into me? Or how did you move on from those incidents and try and get back to some sort of normality?
I found it really, really difficult. He had more knowledge of me than I did, so he would say, I understand, you know, it's all right, it's over. Just be as sweet as you can be, was his phrase. But for me, how could I couldn't understand how I loved him. I could see that he was just human and that he did loads of things that were good and some things that were annoying. How come, as somebody who wanted to behave appropriately, I sometimes lost control? And then how, because I never used a weapon, how was it that if I could control myself not to pick up a weapon, I couldn't, as I claimed, that I was out of control when I hit him? So it was a lot of self-questioning, which made me more ashamed.
Because that's the thing, it is the shame, and you're right, you know, you'd be ashamed, he'd be ashamed, he wouldn't be able to talk about it to anyone else, presumably.
Oh, no.
And because you just, that's the thing, you just don't. How did you manage to get help?
Well, it was hard to get help because I couldn't tell anyone that I got the problem. So that is partly why I'm here today, because I'm hoping that people will think, OK, so it's an inappropriate thing to do, don't want to do it, but actually I can talk about it. There are other people doing it. Because I asked indirect questions, not quite the, you know, my friend's got a problem, but nonetheless sort of that type of thing, which meant that it took me literally years, because I found about probation services, but Paul wasn't reporting me to the police, so that wasn't going to help me. I found about men's centres, but they only took men who were violent, and it was 4 years before a leaflet came through the door at work, because I'm a divorce lawyer and mediator, and there's counsellors there, and it was a British Association of Anger Management leaflet. And I went on the web and saw that they took angry women as well, and signed myself up.
Good for you to actually do that. How strange, because you would be in the position in your job of seeing this from both angles, I guess.
Oh, I know.
It's just so, it's ironic in a sense, but in a way that's probably why you managed to get help. And it's fantastic that you're here talking about it, because I do think there will be people watching today who are in the same position and feel that they're the only ones, and also that there isn't any help. What would you suggest that they do? What would be the best thing for them to do?
I think anger management is really important, because I tried self-help books, and it's hard to help yourself. You know, if you could help yourself, then you wouldn't be having the problem, probably.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that self-help books aren't helpful. They are, but to be in a group of other people, and a lot of it's about understanding yourself, and other people can help you understand yourself, and a lot of it's understanding other people. When you realise that actually other people tick because of something very different. You know, if I did X, that would be hostile, but if they do it, it's not.
Okay.
And so when you can understand more about other people, you're less likely to take things personally. So,
well, I think it's wonderful that you're here, and obviously all the details, and I know that you do help as well. We'll stick them all on our website so that people can do wonderful things technology-wise and actually get more information. Thank you so much. Thank you for